Hello, hi, this is Denise Garcia, Carissa Marion, and Casey Whitberg, and we're going to be doing our quantitative methods presentation. So we will get started. All right, we are just doing the single subject case design, and we will get going with that.
Okay, so here's an example of when you would want to use this type of research tactic. You have a problem, particularly focusing on a specific individual, and you're wanting to change some sort of behavior. If that's the case, then this is the research design for you. So what is it? It is experimental type research conducted with one individual to change a behavior. You're going to have two phases, your non-treatment phase, which is your baseline, and then your treatment phase, which is where you put your intervention. This type of research is popular in fields of education, psychology, and allied health professions like an SLP would. So there's strengths and limitations to this type of research. Here are some listed here, but also a big strength is that it's really good for clinical and educational settings, especially when you're trying to do intervention on one particular individual. You don't have a lot of the red tape like with control groups because the individual acts as their own control and you don't have to worry about selecting large random population sizes. A limitation is that it doesn't really generalize very well because it is only reflective of one individual. So it's hard to say that it would generalize to a larger population based on whatever your findings are.
All right, and so here's just a couple pictures of how the different single subject research designs could look. So you have your AB and your ABA. The AB is your non-treatment or your baseline phase, and B is where you add in the treatment. But in the ABA, you'll take away the treatment in the second A phase and measure the behavior to see whether the behavior continues after taking away the treatment or reinforcer. So putting that into work, here's an example of AB with our previous problem. Again, treatment phase, measure how many times Sally participates normally over a certain number of days. Treatment phase, introduce the sticker chart, measure again how many times Sally participates. It's effective if Sally's participation improves, then it's possible that the stickers were motivating enough to encourage her to participate in class. An ABA example is the same as A and B, except in the second A, you'll take away the sticker motivation and then continue measuring how many times Sally participates over a certain number of days. So you're continuously collecting data over every single phase. And how to know if it's effective, if Sally's participation decreases after the stickers are taken away, it could mean she's not internally motivated enough without the external motivator, aka the stickers. And then we have a multiple baselines design where you are tracking multiple different behaviors or multiple different factors over a period of time.
So then we want to check the validity of these types of research designs. For single subject, as mentioned before, we want to make sure that the external validity is strong, essentially saying that it's going to generalize to the population that the sample is aiming to help. So for external validity in a single subject, it's fairly weak since you only do have one person as your sample. That's not going to be very representative of an entire population when you're considering other factors. For internal validity, you're wanting to see if the differences on the dependent variable are an actual result of just the independent, not something else that we've mentioned before, like history or maturation. So for single subject, it's fairly strong because you're able to control more variables than compared to having a larger sample size. So you have like one treatment, one individual, you have more control, so it's going to be very strong internal validity. The process of data analysis is going to be highly dependent on observing. So you have your visual inspection where you collect all the data that you have and you usually graph it in some form, and you make your judgments based on looking at different aspects. And we have levels, trend, and latency that you're going to be looking at. So levels is going to be looking at the changes of the dependent variable from one condition to the other. If you have higher or lower in one condition, then you can see the treatment had an effect or did not. Same thing for trend, just seeing gradual increases or decreases from the dependent variable. And latency is specifically the time it takes for that dependent variable to begin changing after you have a change in conditions. So the shorter the time, the most likely it is that the treatment is responsible for the change. And these are our references, and that wraps up talking about a single subject study design, and we hope you guys enjoyed it.